Ghana table so and now we need a good channel. I didn't news a coso any day ever my name ye de a bremona and some maybe our corner say ye de bar now him say what you do and the my say you beckon that's wrong so one over call I would see it in some eye coso any day ever my name na the SOS so say a bar not a dear come off your phone.
On the sidelines of the conference this morning, I asked the Attorney General. He was in court, in the Supreme Court, when the Supreme Court declined the Speaker's application to rescind their own decision for stay of the Speaker's ruling. It was argued technically all over the place by the members of the Ghana Bar Association and senior members too, that the Supreme Court's wording of or the application, the filing of the application and the wording that there has to be a stay of execution, the words stay of execution was not properly used, because the stay of execution is used about, against, and within the context of a decision of a court. A decision of a high court, a decision of a court of appeal, a decision of a circuit court. Those are the things that you go to Supreme Court and you use the word stay of execution. The Supreme Court felt that doesn't matter. The point they were making is that whatever declarations that Mr. Bagbin made, effect should not be given to it. Legal effect should not be given to the declarations that Mr. Bagbin made. You can call it a declaration, you can call it a ruling, you can call it whatever. Mr. Bagbin's idea was that in view of what had happened at the Electoral Commission, that 4 members of Parliament had filed their nomination to participate in the future Parliament in another way different from how they came into this Parliament. Mr. Bagbin's interpretation of that was that they were doing so in violation of the Constitution and therefore they should vacate their seats. It's the clear view of the majority leader and his lawyers that the Speaker was wrong. The Supreme Court said they will look at the matter, but in the meantime, the Speaker must allow the 4 to sit until the Supreme Court has completed looking into the matter. The Speaker sued the Supreme Court, sued the Supreme Court and was inviting the court to change their decision. In the hearing, the court decided not to change their decision. The Attorney General was in court that they asked him on the sidelines of the conference today, what does he make of the parliamentary situation? Here is that conversation, just 2 minutes long. Have a look.
Basic principle must be recognized. And it was stated not today or by being a Supreme Court last week. Supreme Court last week when I argued, I was only restating a position that had been declared by the Supreme Court in 2004 and Attorney General, where it stated that in the constitutional matter, there's nothing like a personal interest. Indeed, so the community of interest.
Can you convince people that
what I'm saying is that so the issue that arises in this constitutional matter is the interpretation of a specific provision of the Constitution. Your meaning, your understanding of the provision, which is at variance with that held by another person, and the court, as the arbiter in such matters, will make a determination. So that is why the Constitution makes the Attorney General a defender of all of such actions. But the Attorney General represents the public trust, the public interest. And in doing so, it is not as if the Attorney General's interest is one big question. When I meet the defendant in all the matters, I have not committed anything at all. When I go and defend the government of Ghana, all I'll be facing it elsewhere, it's not I who have done anything at all. It's actually public officers and their actions and all, for which the Attorney General is made liable. So, I think the country must recognize that. So, for me, and indeed, it's for Attorney General, it's also important, but it involved the same issue of a decision made by the Speaker of Parliament. The Speaker of Parliament, yes, the Speaker of Parliament or the Parliament of Ghana had determined that a Chief Justice ought to be subjected to processes of prior approval by Parliament. And the Supreme Court held that, yes, it's a proper action to start with. Number 2, the Speaker of Parliament should not be a proper party to the action. The Speaker of Parliament was actually struck out from the action. And I remember the President in a private conversation with me telling me that he was very cross with the decision. The matter, counsel, lead counsel, the matter. He said he was even dissatisfied with the Supreme Court striking out the Speaker, because of course he was the counsel for plaintiff and he had joined the Speaker to the action. But the Supreme Court heard that yes, even though we are going to rule for you, President Akufo-Addo and your clients, before we are not going to hold that the Speaker is a proper party to the action, because the constitutional action, the Speaker has no interest. It is the point you're making. Yes, that the Speaker has made his decision. It is in. Beyond that, he has no personal interest to enforce that decision.
Yes. For in some I our mind we need a good say we shall now once we're doing to not we jump very Eddie Amame in some a bit was so a say.
It is his understanding of the Constitution. So the Supreme Court gives another understanding. It's not a quarrel.
And it is final.
Yeah.
Binding on it.
It's binding on him.
So
and he hasn't lost.
Yes.
He actually see it as a defeat of the
Definitely
Speaker.
not. And that is why
the Speaker shouldn't see it as such a...
Definitely not. That's why I said that we must have the humility to accept this Supreme Court decision. And indeed, with all respect, I found it a little bit unusual for a Speaker of Parliament to even hold a press conference
which he did yesterday
and attack the Supreme Court in the manner in which he did. I would not make any comment on it at all, but of course it's unusual. I do not think there's any precedent for that in this country.
No, I can't see a precedent for that.
The institution of criminal proceedings
of what?
In prison,
Contempt.
So a failure to obey an order, direction, or if you like, the decision of the Supreme Court amounts to what we call a high crime. It is not contempt of court, it's a high crime. And whoever is suspected of being guilty of high crime will have to be prosecuted in accordance with procedures laid down by the Constitution, which of course the Attorney General prosecuted and all that. It will suffer the punishment of 10 years in prison.
Wow.
Nothing at all. And in the case of the president, it is stated that that person shall be...
So in Parliament today, some people are sitting on the left, some people are not, or don't want to go and sit on the left. Two groups want to sit on the left of the Speaker because that's where the majority sits. Did the Supreme Court legislate that?
I think for me, the issue is quite simple. The Supreme Court orders substantively were two, that Speaker Bagbin's declaration or ruling as to make term it or is a statement or whatever, is state. It must not be carried out. Two, the 4 MPs in question must be allowed to function as MPs. Simple as that. The Supreme Court, of course, will not make orders as to where you sit and where you should not sit, because that is really within the prison of Parliament.
So what should the people who think of themselves as majority do when they show up in Parliament and their seats have been taken?
Well, so for me, the Supreme Court will not extend. That is sometimes also quite clear. Might be established. The Supreme Court will not extend its tentacles into determining where an MP should sit. But that's matter for the internal arrangement of procedures of Parliament. The Supreme Court can only pronounce on the status of a member of Parliament, whether indeed the person still remains an MP or on account of the relevant constitutional provisions, facts have arisen which will render his seat vacant. So if indeed the Supreme Court has held that such a person should function as an MP, I think the others report to be satisfied if the 4 MPs are allowed to function as MPs. For me, it doesn't matter where they will sit. They did evaluate the majority leader. My concern will be a satisfaction of the Supreme Court on this, which is that the 4 MPs should be allowed to function as MPs. Whether they sit on left or right, for me, is immaterial. The most important thing is that
carry out their function and
participate
in Parliament,
participate in proceedings and what have you. And if they do so, and if indeed there has to be a vote, and they vote to the majority, so be it. I mean, simple as that. That's why that's not the Supreme Court will.
And I'm going to require a medium with one same eye custom. I need the ever a woman. Me, I'm international same with you, which I don't know a diploma show. And I have from your heart, a Ghanatube.